Hello, I'm Mirta Kupferminc. I live in Buenos Aires. I had the privilege of being a LABA fellow in 2013, and this experience was so strong for me that I made many works that were shown in many places, and based on this life-changing experience, I was invited and I accepted to launch LABA in Buenos Aires. So this was the first satellite outside New York, outside the Y, and LABA is living in Buenos Aires since 2015, and we had, I say this very proud, many fellows, many brilliant productions. We had some residencies, so short residencies, and also we traveled with one group, 8 people. We traveled to New York, where we made 2 art exhibitions and also shared one session with the fellows in New York. So I hope many times we will share sessions and experiences, and that you will visit us here in Buenos Aires. Thank you.
Hi, David Stallings again, the Director of Arts and Culture at the 14th Street Y, and we're here for another Artists Insight. And we're really excited today because we have some special announcements, but we'll get to that at the end. And today is all about LABA. For those of you who don't know, LABA is the flagship program of the 14th Street Y that started over a decade ago. In fact, next season is our B Mitzvah year. And so I have some very special guests today who have been an important part of my life and my growth personally and artistically. And it's just so honored to have them here virtually with us. First joining us from literally the other end of the world is Ronit Muszkatblit. She started as a LABA fellow long ago, we won't say years, and then she ended up taking over the LABA program, being the artistic director, and then last year was at that point the senior director of arts and culture before leaving us to take a trip around the world. Well, Ronita's back with us, and she is overseeing LABA Global, which is really working with a lot of the LABA satellites. We have satellites now of LABA in Buenos Aires and in East Bay, and really working on what the future of LABA can look like and how we can build this network of Jewish culture rooted in Jewish texts. So she's going to join us now, and we'll talk about the history of LABA. So Ronit, why don't you come on in?
Hi, David.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I am.
So right now you're in Israel. What time is it?
It's 9 p.m. 7 hours more than you.
Yikes. Yeah, it's bright and sunny outside for me.
I know.
So why don't you walk us through, I want to hear, what was your first year at LABA like? You were a fellow in was it the first or second year of the LABA Fellowship Program?
The second year.
And who invented LABA? How did it start, and what is it?
LABA. So many years ago, I was a mom to 2 children. One was very young, like less than a year, Ali. And I met a wonderful artist. Her name was Anat Litvin. And I met another amazing artist, Basmat Chazan Alnof, at that point. And they invited me to come check out a program where you would study classical Jewish text at the 14th Street Y and be able to access the theater and create art. Being a new mom to 2 little babies, I felt a little brain dead. And it sounded amazing. I wasn't so with the classical Jewish text part. You know, growing up in Israel, you have many different emotions. You learn it mostly in school and Bible class, which is great stories, but you don't feel that you really have any access to it. And you're not religious, you're Israeli. I always say I'm like a Tel Aviv Jew, which means not that Jewish. And I was like, okay, I have nothing to lose. You know, I can do stuff in the theater for free. Let's go.
As a
And
theater, can you tell the audience a little bit, what do you do as a theater creator? What is your kind of...
theater director. I came to New York from Israel to study directing. And I would say that I was part of different productions, usually like I call it off, Broadway left, meaning that was off, and usually politically anarchist, existentially inclined, light stuff of comedy. I'm part of kind of the downtown scene, the East Village. I also lived in the East Village. So all in all, there was no reason not to try, especially that some intellectual stimulation was not a bad idea. And being in a community center that was a few blocks away from my house didn't seem bad either. And they were cool. I was like, okay, let's try. And I went to the first session, second session, and slowly, I understood that it's really, really amazing. Another person who was a fellow at that point was Elisa Straus, who's now the artistic director of LABA in East Bay. She was more of a resident fellow. She was a writer. She was amazing in her own way. And I fell in love with the teaching. Ruby Nanda, who's still the LABA scholar, was teaching. Basmat was teaching also. And the more I was there, the more I learned that the idea was to reignite the 14th Street Y. Stephen Chazanov was a new executive director. And he went with a vision to the Educational Alliance to have a fellowship program for artists within the 14th Street Y that would study classical Jewish text inspired by the same kind of model that was created in Israel called Alma by Ruth Calderon. And him and Basmat and Ruby were all colleagues and students of Ruth Calderon, this woman who was a real visionary.
So Ronit, I know that, me being part of the 14th Street Y for 5 years, when I came on, the LABA study sessions were always themed and had a theme to them. When you did your fellowship, were there themes yet?
There was always a theme. There was. The first year was the body, the second year was Eros. Once we started to get more involved, Elisa and I, there was always a theme. But after the first year where I understood that it was really amazing and I could do productions and I got excited by it, I started to propose different ideas of what else to do, me, in my stream of consciousness. And because there was space, and at that point Anat actually went back to Israel, we could actually do some things. And we decided to create a festival of the works created by the artist. And I got Elisa to kind of join in the effort. And more we understood that there was really a lot to be done here. And we streamlined the theme in a way that there was a book. At the beginning it was text that came and went, but we kind of streamlined it to have a core curriculum around the theme, and also to have an application process that was inspired by projects being proposed by the artist, because we understood that if there's something towards which you're working, the listening and the work will be much more focused, and it will ignite the artist to participate more. And Elisa really thought that there should be reoccurring events to gather kind of the prominence of the program within the building, outside the building, to give some kind of continuation, to enable the artists to really create their dream in this little bubble, which is a fellowship that enables them to have support and space and create the works in progress.
So Ronit, what was your first artistic piece that you did?
Well, actually, the first one was something called Nature of Captivity, which I did at Mabu Mines. We were part of the Suite, my theater company, and then we transferred it to the Y Theater because it was theme aligned. It was just like 2 blocks away. But then after that, and the more I got into the building and the more my kids grew up, there was this combination of wanting to create something for them, but also having something that can kind of cross over into the different programs at the Y, which was, the more I was inside the building, the more I understood the potential of connecting the artists to the programs in the building, and also the building really being influenced by this irreverence questioning of the artist, of trying to do stuff in different spaces. So I decided to adapt a children's musical that I grew up in that I thought would be perfect for the American audience, not just Jewish, called Chana and the Moonlit Dress, together with another LABA fellow, now alumni, called Yoav Gal, who was an opera composer, who I also got excited about the story and the idea and how do we translate this. And then he composed beautiful new things. And because of the support of the Y, and because we had access to the theater, and because it's really this process without questions asked that can enable the artist to create, we had time to develop it within the space, have time to rehearse. I mean, all the things that are crucial for artists and are very hard to get in New York City.
You know, Hannah and the Moonlit Dress has been done several times at the 14th Street Y and has become a staple for our children and family programming. It's really a beautiful, imaginative, interactive piece that leaves people of all ages just in awe and happy. I believe we have a clip that we're going to play now from Hannah and the Moonlit Dress. So we'll go to the clip.
Everyone I know is perfectly amazing. Everyone I know is sleeping in the sun. Everyone I know is having lots of fun. Everyone I know is sleeping in the sun. Everyone I know is having lots of fun. Suddenly my friends and I are close together. Happily our moms are like birds of a feather. Laughing with the moon who looks and laughs with us. Dancing with our friends, holding hands without a fuss.
You guys see the moon?
Falling on our faces makes it all a game. Then we get back up.
Then we get back up.
Then we get back up. And do it all again.
And we're back. All right, well, thank you for checking out that little bit of Hannah and the Moonlit Dress. It was really a beautiful production. So now I'm gonna kind of switch gears, Ronit, and in these artist insights, we've been talking with different members of our department and saying, what was the job you initially applied for that then changed 2 months later? Because that was the running gag and the running theme is we basically all just completely kept changing our jobs. But when did you first take over as the artistic director of the LABA program?
I mean, I don't know. I think for me, that question doesn't really apply because I usually created the job and then the job was created for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I never applied for a job. I just proposed things that we should do. And the first couple of years, Elisa and I co-directed LABA. I think that, it really proved itself. And the Y and LABA grew at the same time and expanded. And this, I call it karmic relationship between the artist and the institution grew as the institution grew and progressed. And the Y became a much stronger place. And then Stephen decided to leave. To a new job. He went back to, he changed jobs. And once that was clear, he took me to the CEO of the Education Alliance, and we had lunch with her at that point. And he really advocated for making my position a real job. And I think the vision was that as I'm kind of a bridge between cultures and a bridge between different arts, and in the building, I always try to, from the beginning, integrate the LABA artists and the idea of a theme and the idea of, creating work that from book to story to play, that if there was a real job there, the program would survive and kind of grow within the building. So, and I don't know exactly the year. I can say that, at the beginning it was like part-time, then it was a bit more part-time. Then by the time my third child was born, Zadie, once I came back, it was like a super full-time job because at that point it was like, anyway, 60 hours at the Y, I might as well, get the salary of some kind of a full-time job. So I don't know years. It feels like the last 10, 11 years of my life, basically, have been within the Y and growing and really coming to believe more and more in the impact that the arts and the text can be within this cultural institution. And if you just give it space, it will prove itself and it will all come together. Because now, you know, the why is an intricate part of LABA. And at the beginning, it was hard for people to understand, why are these artists here? What are they doing? Why are they wanting to change our lobby? Why are they moving the furniture? What, we're going to do a festival throughout the building? That's insane. So, you know.
Well, I think, you know, and that brings us to the next kind of era, which was the Rabbi Shira era. And Rabbi Shira was just newly the rabbi when I started. And as Chrissy began, and as the Arts and Culture Department started to form before we called it the Arts and Culture Department. And it was, you know, again, the art and the why was very in different islands, was very segmented. You know, I was running one thing with Becky and you were running one thing. And then there was this other thing called DJL. And finally, I think we just came together and said, let's stop that. We all have the same mission. We all have the same values. We all believe in social activism. We all believe in diversity and in dialogue with the community and supporting artists and putting artists at the center. So let's just be one. And so there was this great, and it was really the golden years, I think, for what LABA and arts and culture and theater could be at the 14th Street Y. And it was a really beautiful moment. And also in that moment, someone came in and part of our downtown Jewish life staff, who would then become just another right hand of our department as we were forming it, and now is the director of the LABA New York program. I would very much, with so much joy, like to introduce you to a colleague of mine who I very much respect and enjoy working with, Laura Beatrix Newmark. Laura, come on in.
Hi.
So Laura, welcome. You and I see a lot more of each other these days.
Virtually.
What was the job you came in or applied for that is not at all your job now?
I was brought in to be the Jewish Life and Culture Fellow. And the objective of that was to take a book series and make that into theatrical and interesting artistic works around the building, and also to help to bridge community and build community amongst the young parents and families of younger children at the Y.
And so again, this was at that point in time, to our viewers, where really there were three sections of what arts and culture was. And so there was the downtown Jewish life element, the LABA programming, and then just the theater programming, which was actually separate with its own kind of season. And the three of us, I think, worked very much so in concert with Chrissy here, who is our amazing production manager, to kind of build a department. Now, Laura, how did you first get involved with LABA?
Well, I still remember I didn't have a desk, and I was sort of plopping around to different locations with a laptop. And I remember one day Ronit sort of strong-armed me into her office and was like, I'm giving you a space, and put me down on a collapsible desk. And it was like, I have to say, it was like a thrilling moment, because all of a sudden I was grounded, right? I had been this sort of nomad in the building, and I was grounded. And that was a very important moment for me. So, and then I was hearing about LABA, and I was hearing things that Ronit said, and I think I asked if I could come to one of the sessions. And I showed up to the session, and there was a fellow giving a presentation about the movie A Serious Man. And while it's not exactly my life, it's about a Midwestern Jewish family, and it was so familiar. And I just, the way the text was incorporated, the way there was a discussion about the creative and thinking, and the group of fellows, I sort of, from that moment on, didn't look back. And I do think there's an addictive quality to LABA in just the ethos and the warmth and the fear and the excitement that reading text and delving into it can do in terms of enabling us to think artistically and utilize that as a basis. So that was sort of the beginning of my having a little bit of a LABA obsession, and being like, not waiting till the next time that I could show up to the next session that they were doing. And really at that point, I didn't have an affiliation. I was working at the Y, but I was like excited to be involved.
So you were like the LABA fangirl for.
I would say I was a LABA groupie. I think that would be a very appropriate term for what I was at that moment.
I
And
think
then
we
you
still
came,
are.
huh?
I think we still are. I mean,
Oh.
we all still are in a way, you know?
I
Once
think
a LABA groupie, always a LABA groupie. I feel like it does not leave. It hits your soul. I don't think it leaves.
I mean, yeah, as someone who has always been a theater creator, there was something very special about LABA and the artists involved that just continue to inspire me. And I love those conversations we have in back rooms at the Y with these artists and helping them envision what their work could become and grow to be. And that's just so fulfilling. Laura, you became a resident fellow. In what year? What was the theme the year you were the resident fellow?
The theme that I was a fellow was the theme was other.
Now, as we know, LABA Fellows present something artistically at some point in the year. What was your artistic presentation?
So I was a mother of young kids, and I was watching the TV show Transparent and thinking about sort of the othering of mother. And all of a sudden I started thinking about the fact that mother, basically the word mother is formed mostly by other. And it sort of led me down this path of thinking about the feelings of otherness that you feel as a mother, and particularly as a new mother. And my piece ended up being called Hannah and Her Sisters, referencing the biblical story of Hannah, and hearing 5 different stories of mothers talking about becoming mothers and various different ways of adoption and IVF and being a single mother by choice, by adoption, or by having their child. So, and it really sort of delved into those feelings. And at the time, Ronit really helped guide me to get to that place, because I came more from the artist management background, and I was really excited to explore as an artist. And she really brought me to the place, both from staging and thought, to take risks and to really push the boundaries of what was being said and what was being thought.
Well, big surprise, Laura. We have a clip from your LABA presentation. So let's have Chrissy just play us a little clip from Hannah and Her Sisters.
Creating our second son would be a much more convoluted process. Was I being punished again? After 50 eggs, 2 retrievals, and 3 tries, Milo Liev sprang forth into the world with the 7 most intense minutes of my life. With a full head of dark hair, I was certain this kid was mine. My son's Hebrew names are Pele Shimshon and Zohar Lev, and at each of their Brit Milahs, I thought of the profound link they have to their forefathers, from the present back to Abraham. It gave me the chills. And then I thought about playing God and realized these babies weren't just made from 1 divine and 2 human beings. The new foursome included modern science.
And we're back. Well, thank you for that, Laura. I remember that actually like it was yesterday. I remember that evening, and I remember some of those stories and being very moved at how difficult a time a lot of those moms had.
I remember I was sitting between women who were crying.
Yeah.
On some moments.
Well, congratulations, Laura, on that. And so the program continued to really build momentum. There started to become satellites. Now, first, Ronit, there was the Buenos Aires LABA satellite. And then this year, for the first time, there was even an East Bay satellite. And the artistic director, as you mentioned, is Elisa Straus, who was a co-director with you at the beginning of Inception over 10 years ago.
Right, and created the journal and really a lot of what we are about together, but smart lady.
So let's talk a little bit about this transition period that happened where the baton was passed from Ronit to Laura to lead the LABA Fellowship of New York. And then I want us to go into this idea of a LABA Global and what these satellites can be and what building a network means. And then we'll finish off with a special announcement. So first, why don't I pass it off to Laura and Ronit to have that conversation of what was that passing of the baton? What did it feel like? What was a growing pain? And then what were some fruits of those pains?
Who wants to start?
Well, I don't know if I want to start, but I have a little intro that I think it's like what you said, the groupie part. There's something very organic that happens and has happened, and I think makes programs really true and real. The same way that I fell in love with it and Elisa fell in love with it. And we decided to invest a lot of time, passion, and energy into something that's not, it wasn't for the, in Hebrew we say jubot, which could be dollars. It was really because we felt that there's something unique in this mode of learning and creating, and that the space and the building and the why should be there for the artists. And in that way, it kind of grew and became more organic. And I think the same way that Laura had a chair, that, the from book to play in a way was a continuation of Hannah, and that we sat in the same office became the war room. We called it the war room, Israeli metaphors of dealing and conniving and producing and surviving certain situations. In a way, for me, the baton moving over was an organic process, the same way that Mirta started LABA out of this organic process of being a fellow on Skype during a year. We always said she had more presence over Skype than some people in the room, and she knew that she wanted to continue LABA and the idea of LABA. So for me, it's an organic, process and growth.
Well, and I have to say, I remember a time that Ronit was presenting, was due to present to a group about LABA, and something happened that she couldn't. She was at a meeting that went over, and she said, "Laura, I'm going to send you to do it. You know that you can do this. You know what LABA is. I have total confidence in you." And I remember feeling very, not only empowered, because Ronit's been a wonderful mentor, but also the excitement of sort of thinking about how to present LABA, and that pre-getting the position. And so I think that was actually a good tester of being able to articulate what the vision of LABA was with a group of people, and really trying to get them excited and motivated, and seeing their response was really wonderful. So I think that was like an early stage for me of where this could go at some point.
Laura, I was just going to ask, we've been talking about these seasons that happen every year. What was your season, your first, when you had LABA and you were the leader of the fellowship, you got to kind of work on helping choose that season. What was it?
So my background was in comedy management, and I was curious to see if there was a way to incorporate ancient Jewish text with comedy. And I assumed there was, but I needed to consult with Ruby Namdar, our resident scholar. And he said, "This is a great idea and terrific, and let's get on board to talk about it and think about it." And LABA has a way of being very prescient. And I think that each year, and Ronit, I remember when she was picking War and Peace, I got nervous because and Life and Death, and Other, because all of those ended up playing out in the political sphere in a very similar way that the LABA Fellowship sort of was ready for it. And I think that humor this year, as the world has gone in such unique and tough ways, that we needed it. So I feel like LABA sort of sits wherever LABA is each time. It somehow is at the zeitgeist of something we need. And I feel like I appreciate Ronit passing the baton in that, because I think the years that she has led always seem to be prescient, and I think that humor right now is needed. So I feel like that was a nice sort of transition in that sense.
And you have just led these artists this year, like working side by side with you. You have been a great leader. You have helped create platforms and push their ideas and abilities beyond what they thought could be. And that's what LABA's all about, right? LABA's about what to each of you for artists?
I would say it's outside of the art world. So it's like this little bubble, isolated, where you can really do something you had the desire for a long time, but didn't have the time, the money, the space, the support. And inspired by your cultural heritage. It's really about also having, it's this old text that has survived thousands of years for a reason. There's something in it that ignites our imagination and creativity. And it's not about Judaica. It's not about translating the text one by one. It's about being inspired and open and then create it. So bubble of creativity in the madness of New York.
And I would say it's a springboard that gets you to jump into somewhere new. And what I think is really interesting is that every year we have a very large range of where people come from. This year we have an Orthodox rabbi, and we have a secular Russian Jew who barely knew she was Jewish. So the confluence of people in such varied levels of learning coming together around text that could be new or old for everybody, but gives you a new outlook to look at it and to think about it as that springboard for where you could go artistically or to take yourself in a new direction, I think is very LABA. And
yeah, LABA has had, people who are Jewish to intersect, and intersectionality happens within LABA. And that's actually something that inspires me, especially with members of the LGBTQ community who have been a part of LABA. It's been really exciting to see what that intersectionality is. So for me, it's always been intersectionality in a way.
And it's also interdisciplinary, which I think is important. There aren't many fellowships where you have people who are from different art disciplines, different ages, different backgrounds, different levels of knowledge. It's also about life experience and the learning. There's something about all being in the same group and in a way competing and loving each other, but here it's really a wild swath of artists who can comment from different places, different points of view, and that enriches the experience too. And is very Jewish because it's all about asking questions and, all the different points of view, 10 people, 40 points of view.
So next year is our B mitzvah at LABA, and darn it, it's gonna happen even if we're still self-isolating. I think the pivot this year, Laura, that you made with the fellows to not only take these text study sessions to a virtual platform, but Ronit to work with the alumni to have sessions globally for the whole, all of the networks to come together. And then with our fellows this year at the Y to have a virtual platform to share their artistry and what they were working on that would have been presented in the theater, but had to go virtual. We committed to that. And I think each person on this call, and then all of the wonderful people at our satellites, and then the supportive staff at the 14th Street Y, Rebecca, Lilith, Chrissy, oh my goodness, and Ophir and Alan Scher, really gave us that support to make a very difficult pivot happen in an awesome way. I'm going to ask you to talk about the Unite show, and then we're going to make some announcements.
So the Unite show came about because we were going to do our first LABA Fest. It was going to be 5 LABA performances in 5 nights. And the pandemic hit, and there was not going to be an opportunity to congregate in our theater. And one of the fellows who was performing threw out this idea that he would take his show and try to incorporate all of the LABA fellows and what do I think about that? And I said, let's do it. So we worked on composing an email that would hopefully get everyone involved because it was a major undertaking. And everyone wrote back, we're in, and we put together very quickly a spoof late night show on the topic of Passover that was coming up. And thus was born the Unite show, Pandemic Passover.
I just want to, before it happening and after you sending the email, there was a moment of freak out that I will own called David's Freak Out. Because I said, wait a minute, we don't have the platform for this. We don't have the tool to do it yet. And I don't know how quickly we can get that tool. Hold your horses, I think I said, and let me call Chrissy. And I called Chrissy Wright, our production manager, and looped in Throughline Creative, who are our marketing consultant. And together came up with some different software possibilities to make it happen. And Chrissy Wright is the reason it happened, beyond the amazing work you did with the artists, what she did with figuring out a platform, getting our heavy-duty computer from the theater to her apartment in order to activate and actualize this. It was a huge, very quick pivot that happened, I believe, in less than a week. So that was pretty impressive.
Yes, and I have to say, Chrissy really beefed up on learning a platform. I'm not beefed up, started learning a platform and mastered it very quickly. And, you know, it was funny because I think we had one dress rehearsal lined up. And I think by the end we had 3 or 4 dress rehearsals because, you know, people were having issues with their internet. We were trying to, you know, Chrissy was working out the kinks in the system. And as I feel like happens often, and thankfully it all came together that night as best it could. But yes, it was an extraordinary team effort and a tremendous commitment from the team at the Y and from the LABA fellows.
And what we're finding is that with our program that's gone virtual, we're able to reach more people than we would have within the confines of our physical space. We had people on that call from Israel, from, I think, Oregon, Washington State. It was wild, all the people saying, here from, you know, another state, excited to be exposed to the programming they wouldn't have seen otherwise. And we've seen that even in our fitness classes. Now there are more people in our fitness Zoom classes that could have fit in the actual space at the 14th Street Y. That just goes to show you, the hard work the 14th Street Y has done to become a virtual JCC, and the need that people have still for our content. So that being said, we have 2 things to announce. One is the theme for next year. So drum roll, please.
How do you do that?
Chosen. Oh my goodness. Now, Chosen is the theme, and I believe this is the theme for the satellites as well, Ronit, yes? It's the whole thing.
Yes, we have to work together more, but yes, it is.
Good. Well, that's the plan. I think that's great. So Chosen. So what does Chosen mean in a year of Bar Mitzvah?
Or in a year of election.
Oy.
By the way, this theme was chosen before everything happened with the pandemic. So as we have talked about, the LABA themes are extremely prescient.
Mm-hmm.
Sababa. So that being said, what's our other big announcement, Laura?
Applications are open. You can now apply to be a LABA fellow in the year of chosen 2020 to 2021.
Be chosen for the year of chosen.
So if you're interested in tech study, you are an artist, you want to be inspired and join this fellowship and have a way to either do something physical or digital, please apply today. We are going to be open for a few weeks. All right, Laura, and final answer, what is the cutoff date for applying to the LABA Fellowship?
The cutoff date is Monday, July 13th.
All right, you have it, everybody. From today, May 27th, through Monday, July 13th, you have a few weeks to apply to the Year of Chosen and be part of what we consider to be the LABA family. And now I just want to say thank you to Ronit for joining us from Israel and staying up late for us. Although you always stay up late, Ronit.
Until 9:52 p.m. Hello.
And
I also wanted to say, you know, part of getting the fellowship is also that you're now part of the LABA Global Network, which is something, it connects you to artists all over the world who are utilizing text to do the same thing that you would be doing. So think about that also as well, the broader, and Ronit can say one more thing about that to just, you know, talk about the cohesion.
I think that in the theme of the zeitgeist, you know, it's always been a dream and a wish, and it came together, and now I feel like the world has created a platform that works for us all to connect, because we are used now to communicating virtually. We have the frame that enables this communication and collaboration. Of course, we long to see each other and meet, but this is the moment where we all understand that the physical boundaries aren't maybe as real as we thought, and that we can really think together, share the same ethos, and elaborate on our shared cultural heritage in a much more clear way that we all understand.
And if you are interested in still knowing a little bit more of what a LABA artist gets to do, join us tomorrow night for our Tikkun, which is going to start at 6 o'clock here on Facebook Live with a big kickoff with some of our LABA artists. We will be live into the night until about 12:15, 12:30 a.m. We also have a lot of Zoom breakout classes. Go to our virtual 14th Street Y Arts and Culture page, check out the Tikkun, RSVP for some of our breakout classes, performances, and sessions, and see what LABA can be. Also, you can also join in with a lot of other of our downtown Jewish life partners and their events that are also part of our Tikkun. And again, from the 14th Street Y, I'd like to thank Ronit Muszkatblit, Laura Beatrix Newmark, and especially Chrissy Wright for making all of this happen from the production end. I'm David Stallings, the Director of Arts and Culture, saying, I'll see you tomorrow.